Hello again! Last week we finally finished shaping all of our pieces for our pauldron, our shoulder piece, and then our three lames. And now we need to punch some holes in them so that we can connect them all together. Back when we talked about tools, I mentioned that you'll need something to punch holes in your metal with. Most of you will probably have a drill, and that will work fine. But I recommended, if you could, to get a metal punch. So I'm going to drill my first hole with the drill, and then the rest I'm going to punch out, just so you can see the difference and get a sense of it. Before we start drilling anything, we need to mark our holes, though. So I'm going to grab my Sharpie and my pattern. Lay my pattern inside my piece. And mark my holes. I have two nice little dots. Works very well for anything with a very simple profile like a lame. But if we have done a lot of work and our piece is no longer flat enough to lay our pattern inside, how are we going to get our marks in the right place? And this is where some grade school geometry comes in handy. So for example, here's our pattern. And here is the thing that it's not going to fit inside in any meaningful way. We could sort of wrap it, but it's all gotten all stretched and weird. So we know a couple of things. We know the strap needs to line up. We know that the hole needs to line up with the ones underneath in the lane. I'm going to take a measuring device. I'm going to use a compass, but you can use a flexible tape measure that works just as well, or a piece of string if you need to. I'm going to measure. I'm going to measure the distance from the edge here. And then I'm going to transfer that to my pauldron. I also want them to have an even amount of distance from the bottom of everything. So I will measure the distance. So I will measure the distance from the edge of my flare. And then I will transfer that to my pauldron. I'm doing this all on the inside so these scratches don't show up on the outside. So now you can see, I don't know if it'll catch in the light on video, but I have a cross. And that gives me a place that I can mark with my Sharpie. So now I have my holes located with Sharpie, but that's not going to help very much when I start to drill. The drill's going to hit that sheet metal and just walk all over the place before it catches something and starts to drill. So we need to make a center punch of some kind. I have a proper center punch. These are very cheap. I recommend getting one if you can. There we go. It is a center punch. But you do not need anything as fancy as a proper center punch. A nail will work. The reason you don't want to use a nail all the time is nails aren't hard enough. They'll dull and bend after time. For the sake of staying true to spending as little money as possible, this is a wood screw. I'm going to use a wood screw. Next, and this is important, I am not going to use my sheet metal hammer on this. But if I try to use this hammer with my nice, beautifully mirror finished, polished faces on something as hard as a nail or a center punch, I am going to mar the face of my hammer. So I could use my rubber mallet, but if you have any other hammer, I'd recommend going for that. Because I didn't tell you to get any other hammer, I will use my rubber mallet. In this case, I'm going to use the side of my rubber mallet. There we go. Got a little dent in there. It doesn't have to be... So the marks don't have to be very deep at all. All they are is something for the drill or the punch to find as the center so they can catch and go through there. to think that you can skip this step, but it adds an enormous amount of precision and reduces the risk of you ruining your piece enormously. So I highly recommend always center punching your holes. Okay, so my holes have been marked, they have been center punched. Now I am going to drill a hole. First, I'm going to grab a sacrificial piece of wood, because I don't want to drill a hole into my beautiful working surface. If you have a clamp, it's always best to clamp down sheet metal. Sheet metal likes to grab and spin when you're drilling it, and it's a really easy way to cut up your hand. But aluminum's pretty soft. I've done this enough times. I feel pretty safe doing this. And you may be about to watch me chop up my hand and possibly other important bits that are near this drill. It's got a little bit of a lip from the drilling there, which we could probably polish off with a file, but we know it's going to be covered, so we can leave it. The thinner and the harder the metal is, the more likely it's going to grab and twist when you punch through with a drill. So if you start working on thin steel or brass, drilling gets worse and worse. Aluminum's not too bad. It's nice and soft, so it doesn't grab too badly, but when it does, it can make a really horrible marred up hole. For comparison, let's use a punch. The punches have a little spike on the punch side. So you put that and use that to find the center of your center punch, and then you press it through the die, and we have a hole. Nicer than we did from the drill, faster than we did from the drill, and a lot safer as well. Alright, that is it for this week. We have holes in everything. Next week, we're going to talk about how to strap these up and get them all connected together. See you then!